In my sketchbook today, I am going to draw a simple fried egg with a twist and paint it in with the colors that are in my 48 color palette. It's very beginner friendly. There's no outline. I will put the reference photo in the video. So I'm looking at it on my computer and I'm just going to draw a wonky circle. I am going to connect it. And in the middle, here's the twist, the yolk is a heart shape. It has a highlight there and a highlight there, and then little bits of egg are around the outside. The background's a fun color too. Got little bits here. Now I'm going to start painting, and I'm giving myself about 10 minutes, excluding drying time. So I'm going to paint the background, and I'm going to use opera. I'm in love with this color. I'm just going to slap it on here. When you give yourself a limited amount of time, you worry less about details. And that kind of shows through when you're painting, in your final painting. Your painting will look more spontaneous, more fresh. It might have more energy. I'm going to get some more pigment. Make sure I don't get a hard line over here. This paper is Be Creative paper in a Be Creative sketchbook. It's 100% cotton. It's in the 8x8 size. I use this sketchbook a lot. I've already used all of one side of all the pages, and I'm now working on the second side of all the pages. A little more pigment. And I want to say I've had this about 1.5 years. I don't exclusively paint in it though, but I do like this size. I have Arches blocks in this size, and I use those a lot as well. Now, to kind of disguise some hard lines that are probably going to form here, I'm going to just splat some clear water and force some backgrounds so that everything looks intentional. I'm going to splat in some opera. I don't know if it will make a difference. That's part of the fun of watercolor, is just seeing what happens. Now, while that's drying, I like that I got some opera on the egg white. I'm going to do the yolk, which is an orangey yellow color. I'm going to use some Hansa Yellow Deep. Water it down. And I'm going to use, I think I'm just going to use that color, but in different values. I'm going to wet the yolk, and I'm going to leave out the highlight. And over here, it's a little lighter. I'm just going to fill the whole thing in. I got it wet, and it's pretty wet. It's puddly, and there's quite a bit of water on my brush as well. So I'm just going to try to stay in the lines right here. And I'm going to now get a damp brush. I rinse it out, and I wring out all the water on a t-shirt, and then now this doesn't have very much water anymore, and I can just soak up some of the water, wipe it off, get it damp again, and soak it up. So I want to soften that. I'm going to add more water now, and I want to put a little bit of, I'm going to use this color. And that is Scarlet Lake by Winsor & Newton, and I'm going to put some right in here. Rinse out my brush and make it damp on the t-shirt. And kind of blend that in. Doesn't look very eggy, I know. We're going to add a little more of the Hansa Yellow Deep. And I'm going to add some more up here. Okay, I'm going to dry that. Okay, and now I'm going to wet the white of the egg. And I'm going to put in a little bit of shadow and reflection from the yolk. Remember, the yolk is sticking up a little bit. It's in a mound. And it's reflecting onto the white of the egg. You would never notice this in real life, but it is there. Look at photos and look very, very closely at them and see if you notice any very subtle changes in the color. I'm going to be using a little bit of the Hansa Yellow Medium, and I'm going to add some of the pink. Very light value, and I'm going to just put it around. And I'm going to get just some Hansa Yellow, a light value, and put it around the edge of the egg. I don't know if that makes any difference at all, but get a little bit of Scarlet Lake. And then the same here. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow to these little pieces of egg. I'm just going to ignore those two because I covered them up with pink. I can probably add those back on with white if I want to. Okay, now I'm going to, since I have a dry area around the outside and I probably won't get any on the inside, I'm going to do the shadow. And the background's pink, so the shadow is going to be a darker value than the same color. So I'm going to just mix these two together, and I'm going to go around the outside in some places. Soften that. I am going to add a teeny bit of, oh, that's a lot of purple. Get some more opera. That's actually a good color for a shadow. I'm going to put that on here. And soften it. I'm just using my damp brush like I showed you earlier. And I'm going to go around the whole egg. Skinnier in some parts and fatter in other parts. I'm going to do a little bit fatter here so it looks like this is lifted up a little, and I'm going to increase the value there. All done with a number 8 Silver Black Velvet. Okay, right here, I'm going to go right outside. I'm going to go a little further out from the egg. Kind of mirror that shape. And I'm going to soften if I can. Okay, and I'm going to go around up here. This is a skinnier bit. The egg must be flatter in the pan. And I'm going to come around and go mirror this. Now I want to make it a little darker in some spots. I'm going to get more opera and a little more purple. It's kind of a lot. Or opera. Okay. And right here I'm going to go darker. And right here I'm going to go darker. In these places where it's mirrored, I'm going to go darker. I think, and then in select spots, I think this needs a little something. Okay, now these little shapes also have some shadow, and I don't want it to just be an outline. So I am going to vary where the shadow is, like how thick it is around each spot. Over here it's a little thicker, and over here it's very thin. Okay, this one has more on this bottom side, and it's thinner on the top side. And then this little heart, it's thicker here on the bottom part and lighter on the top part. Oops, didn't quite have my brush up on its tip enough there. It's okay. Ready to put the highlight in over here. It's just a wobbly little bit of little shape, and I'm going to deepen the value around the yolk and a little bit coming out from the yolk. And so this is not very dark. I'm going to just sort of dab it off with a kneaded eraser. Okay, now when I paint inside this egg white, I'm going to avoid that. I am going to add a little bit of burnt sienna, and I'm going to water it down and put it over here. Water it down. And now, once again, I'm going to wet the inside of the egg white. I'm not going to quite go to over every single thing. I'm going to kind of leave some of that white alone, right around the edges. I'm going to go around this highlight. And around this highlight, I'm going to get a little more pigment. And I'm going to kind of move that around. And I want to soften this over here. I'm going to get some more pigment here. I want that highlight to show up, so I'm going to have a darker value right up next to it. Clear water. Okay, now I'm going to do the heart, the yolk. I'm going to put a little pigment right around the edge of it. And I'm going to take some of that pigment and move it around haphazardly. Scarlet Lake with the Opera Rose, and I'm going to now wet the yolk again, going around the highlights. And I'm going to add that new color in. I don't want it to be quite this wet, so with a damp brush, I'm removing some of the water, and I'm going to grab some of this color with the Opera Rose and Scarlet Lake mixed. And now I'm going to get some Hansa yellow deep, just that color, and water it down and add some more up here. Some more right there. Little green flecks. I am getting some sap green and adding it to the Hansa yellow deep. I'm going to use a damp brush to take a little bit up, and I'm going to put little green, I don't know if you can see, they might not be dark enough. Little green flecks of some kind of herb. Maybe parsley. Not a lot, a few on here. One. On these little guys. Off the tape. If your tape takes off your paper, like it did here and here, you just need to heat up the adhesive. And it will come off much easier and leave your paper intact. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed painting a simple egg with me. Have a great day.